Ladies and gentlemen, we have in the house Mr. Parke Greeson. He is the infamous horse trainer of our generation, the songbird of our generation, the songbird of horse trainers of our generation. How'd you do? Where did I see you last?
Fort Worth. I was
Worth.
just judging the rodeo.
Fort Worth, Texas.
I feel like I did good. I didn't field any complaints. Maybe did I do good? What does he say?
If nobody complained, then yeah, you did good.
Yeah.
I will never judge a ranch rodeo. If I was gonna judge one, though, I did one time. Remember that little BS deal we did in Oklahoma with all the arenas? Yeah.
You judged that?
The bronc riding.
That's good because we won. So you did a good job.
Well,
or the first year we did.
This kid got on this big stout horse. I can't remember. Maybe Jason Murray brought the broncs or something. I don't know. But this horse jumped in the air 2 or 3 feet and just extended, full extension, kicked way out, straight down the pin. Just jump, kick. And just a pretty bronc ride. Not like, horse could have really gone anywhere. And the kid just was never in trouble. And then this dumb, thick-necked redneck, just no neck. White trash gets on this little bitty horse that turns back, and he barely rides him. And because he barely rides him, it just makes it look more wild. Plus, he's turning back. But, if you got a good seat, if they're turning back or rearing up, it's pretty easy to ride. Mm-hmm. Even in a ranch bronc saddle.
Yeah.
And this kid, I marked the first ride I described as the winning ride. To me, it was obvious, being a bronc rider. And this kid come unglued and all but wanted to fight me afterwards. And did commence to cussing me. And then you got to decide, all right, how much education can I give him on is he going to listen?
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't hearing anything at that point.
That was very amateur though. That bronc riding,
They still buck him out in that old racetrack looking field. There was
no
fences.
No fences.
Yeah.
That was another thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think they do that anymore.
They don't. What was that deal called? The
Doxa.
Doxa. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
We went.
Yeah, that guy always talked me out of getting paid. I didn't care for him very much.
It turned out to be a charity event every year.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Man, I didn't make any money either. Yeah, but that's not my fault.
Yeah. I didn't ask you to put this on.
Exactly. Yeah. But do you judge a lot of events in the bronc riding?
Just that one. That's the only bronc riding I've ever judged. That's a side note for everybody that wasn't happy with their bronc riding score, but
yeah.
No, it was kind of the first night the horses were a little up and down, and the second night the King Ranch won it. But they got on a horse that I bet if you looked up his stats, he's got pretty good stats from the pro rodeo because he just jumped and kicked every time. One of those ones that before his front feet even hit the ground, he was just already cracking them.
Right.
Looked like a good horse.
Yeah. Zach rode both of his.
Did. Yeah, he got off his one the first night. And I thought he was coming to ask me for a re-ride, but he just came over there to tell me he was getting old. As he was out of air.
What is he, 30?
Man, I'm 32, so he's got to be 35 or 37.
Oh, he's older than you?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
So, yeah, a couple years, yeah.
Dang, you're getting old.
Right back at you.
Yeah, your beard has less gray strays than mine does.
Yeah, it's confused in the black right now.
It's very full.
Thank you.
You got a big, thick beard.
Appreciate it.
You know what I just remembered? It's not quite. Is it as thick or thicker as when you were at Tech on the news?
I had more time in that one. So, directionally, it grew this way further, but not as full.
Yeah.
Not as full.
Well, I want to hear the Parke Greeson story, but first you got to tell us that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought that deal was going to be on the news, 6 o'clock, let's all laugh and be done with it, but it's kind of just reoccurring. Matter of fact, I heard we were up for the rodeo coach position in Lubbock. Is what I saw, maybe like a plug that they were putting us up for it. So
yeah, you and True.
yeah, yeah. No, we're in class and hanging out the night before like you do in college, and some kids like run into that little auditorium area, or not kids, they were adults, and they were like, some cattle are out or whatever, and we kind of blew them off, and then we could tell like, oh, they're serious. So I don't know what made us, but we just jumped in True's little truck, and drove out there, and then we got out there and we're like, well, now what the hell do we do? And he was like, he had rope in the back, and so we jumped in the back, and he chased her down, and we caught her.
Oh, y'all didn't even have horses?
No, not the first one. And then we looked, just like Lanham trying to mug the cow in the ranch rodeo the other night. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That's about what we looked like.
Yeah.
Except I don't think she hit us in the chin.
Right.
Finally got her down, and then by that time, we'd called for the reinforcements with the horses. We went and found the other one. She was downtown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is and one of them went through a lady's door?
I think it was like a law office. Had like a real narrow window, and it just kind of in and out.
Was it the first one or the second one?
Second one. Damn. The first one was running down Marsha Sharp. So it was, no
wide open country.
Wide open, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Looking for the long pasture.
But the second one was proper downtown blue light area, which, turns out we were there the night before, so we were pretty familiar with the area. Really knew how to get around her.
And then the news shows up.
Mm-hmm. And we were a little bit full of it. And the funniest part is, everybody that goes back and views this video now, True's mom didn't know that he dipped snuff. And so if you'll notice, when he steps into the camera, he takes it out of his shirt pocket and puts it in his jeans pocket. It was way too late, though.
Right.
Lana definitely caught that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. A little side note to that video.
So was it a Toyota that you jumped in?
For sure. Yeah. I think it was Dusty's, and then he gave it to True. They may still have it. A little single cab.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It was mint. We drove it everywhere. It was the one where the wheels are, outside of the wheel wells.
Uh-huh.
I think that's like a necessity on a Toyota Tundra or Tacoma, whatever.
An attempt at making it tougher.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I just assumed you made that part up. So we jumped in the Toyota.
Yeah, no. That was the school ride. We drove it everywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It might have been a hand-me-down. Might have been 3 generations of Bursons go through that Toyota. So, yeah, it's probably laying somewhere now on blocks. I imagine had a tough life.
How many views has that video gotten?
I don't know. I have to go back and look at it. I try not to look at it. It's kind of cringeworthy for me.
It's hilarious. Why is it cringeworthy?
I thought it was funny at the time, but, it's like watching yourself. You don't go back and look at any of your old videos and be like, that wasn't as funny as I thought it was.
It's usually the opposite. This didn't get near as much attention as it deserved.
Yeah. I hear you.
Early on, though, it was kind of like hearing my own voice. I know what you mean.
Yeah, for sure.
But after 12 years of making videos, you kind of get used to it.
Yeah, I bet that's right.
Yeah, you get used to it. And also, it's like we've got enough videos out. We've got a TV in the booth. Every time we have a booth, we'll leave a TV rolling so that, because sometimes, especially these stock shows, them kids will show up and just kind of sit in there. And so there's some of our old videos playing. And I'll get caught watching them, and I hate it now because everybody, you watching your own video? Like, yeah, it's like a video diary.
Right, yeah.
That was like maybe 5 years ago, and we had an awesome time. And I get to relive it. Like, why would you not want to re-experience that? Because, in the vlogs, we're like documenting it.
Right.
So it's like, oh, yeah, I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
So I get given a hard time for it, but I love that so much of my good times over the last decade are documented.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Like my dad's generation, there's like books and books of pictures.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, that's a little over the top, but then really, I mean, that was the only way to remember it, really. Pictures. Now we have them all on our phones, but thousands of printed pictures at the ranch.
That's true.
Yeah. so you don't lose your phone.
Have you ever thought about doing some documenting, some vlogging, some videos?
I have, you and I kicked around when I was trying to take our brand, like not necessarily the ranch, but just kind of everything it encompasses. And yeah, we've thought about it. I've had a few reserves about like being the face behind it. That's just, but the more that I've talked to people, they're like, man, people don't see that every day. It's cool. Show it to them,
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate those words of advice.
Yeah, I had got a buddy. He did the murals. Is this your first time here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
this was all in your living room,
right?
When
you came, you dropped that horse off, or picked him up.
That horse has had been talked about on this podcast quite a bit.
Which one?
The gray.
The gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if you meant the gray or the half-day horse.
Oh, no.
That was the term that you first brought to the ranch. Half-day horse.
Half-day
the
horse.
little sheriff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the gray has definitely made the rounds.
Yeah.
He's been a lot of places. But what was I going to say? Oh, your lifestyle, how people don't get to see that. The guy that did the murals here at the warehouse, he was from New Mexico. He grew up around horses, but did graffiti on trains.
Oh, really?
And that's how he got started doing murals. Went out to L.A. for 10 years and dated some influencers.
Nice.
An influencer, and I happened to follow a few of them, and I watched their content just kind of more for like research, like a case study of sorts. Right. Anyways, he was like, he came here, and he comes here every couple of months, and he'll paint something, we'll hang out, and we've become friends. And he said, man, you guys got it made. Those guys out in L.A. are in their apartment, and all they have is their mind. Like, if they're not funny, how can you be interesting out there?
Right.
But all you guys got to do is go outside and turn on the camera.
Right, yeah.
And it really gave me a new mindset behind what could possibly be interesting, because the things that you and I do every day, we may not find that interesting, but the world doesn't get to experience that.
For sure.
And you, for sure, with, you're full on the Sarco Ranch, and also, what you're doing with horses every day. Mm-hmm. Especially, not to mention the level that it's on. I mean, I'm dealing with horses like the gray, so. But the kind of stuff you're handling. RodeoTime.com is the only website that should exist, because it's the greatest apparel line that has ever existed. So go there now to get a t-shirt, a hoodie, a cap, a vest, whatever it is you need. Go to RodeoTime.com, old son. Ever since I started riding bulls and punching fools, I've been wearing an American hat, because I'm an American. I actually wore a different hat before that for the longest, but then my mom got a job. So wear an American hat, old son. Otherwise, you ain't no cowboy. Let's go back to the beginning. Tell me about your story as a cowboy.
I didn't cowboy growing up at all. Matter of fact, I didn't even ride horses. I was scared of horses until I was like 11 or 12. Dang. And my dad had some people out at the ranch starting some colts, because my mom and dad showed horses, growing up. Mom obviously kind of grew up on the ranch. The ranch's side of things is from my mother's side. So she grew up riding horses and stuff, and then Dad showed some cutting horses on and off. They started raising some, and so there was a lady out there starting some of these colts, and I was like 12, I was like, I want to learn how to ride. Scared to death. And then I rode some older horses for a little while. I might have been like 10 or 11, but it was close to that. And started doing that, and then just really loved it. I always wanted to be a cowboy. Like, I can remember all the old books in the living room that were like those you seen that like real old Buckles of the West book or whatever, but it's like a bunch of Roaring Springs buckles, and then it shows the guys wearing it, and it's like old pictures, and I can't remember, it's like Bubba Withers and a bunch of those like old school cowboys flanking calves at pitchforks, and the calves are like these huge Hereford calves, and
Dang.
So I always saw that and loved it and wanted to be a cowboy, but and I knew, like, in my mind, cowboys were all west and north of where I was, which is not the case, but that's what I was thinking.
Because you're right south of Goliad.
Right, yeah, straight south of Goliad. So kind of took on riding horses, and then wanted to learn how to rope so I was pretty lucky because my dad had leased a ranch in Van Horn called the 6 Bar. And at that time, a guy named Mike Capron was running it. And
Wilson's dad.
Wilson's dad. And so Wilson had just started making bits and spurs, and my dad loves collecting bits and spurs. So him and Wilson became buddies. And I told my dad, I was like, I really want to learn how to rope. And thankfully enough, he was like, well, let's see if we can get the right person in front of you, kind of, slow that. Because I was already behind the curve, right? Everybody else has been roping and riding since they were young. And so at that time.
It's crazy to think like you're at 11 years old.
Yeah.
And you're like, I didn't grow up, but like 11 is,
Yeah.
You're probably like 80 pounds.
I think in the 8th grade, I was so small. I was 94 pounds and was 4'10". I remember my mom saying that I was going to have to get those shots in my knees, because like I was never going to grow.
How old are you in 8th grade?
I don't know.
It's like 12 or 13, I think.
Okay. So yeah, I was tiny.
Golly.
I'm not a specimen of a man right now, but got bigger,
You
taller.
look like you might do a few push-ups.
The beard helps,
You've had a protein shake or two.
So
anyway, you're roping
So
now.
he called, at that time, Wilson and Shot Branham were pro rodeoing together. And so he was like, hey, get Shot down there. So Shot comes down, and I don't know if you ever met him, but like, he's like the only guy to ever go to the NFR with his boots tucked in his jeans tucked in his boots and split reins. And he wore like a pair of chinks in one go around.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Like Cowboy. Through and through.
I know who you're talking about.
And so he shows up, and I'm like, Cowboy.
Yeah. Yes.
So he comes down, teaches me how to rope, kind of gets me started or whatever. And then it was like, as soon as I got old enough to drive, I just was glued to him. We called him Pawpaw, but I was just glued, So went out to Midland, started helping him, hanging out with him. He leased some ranches around Rankin and Sanderson and Pecos. So like I was like
all in,
starry-eyed, then ended up going to Tech because I just was like in love with that, west, north part of the world. So went to Tech, and then, kind of everything from there. Ranch horse team kind of started the cow horse deal, and the meeting guys like True and Gage and Jordan and kind of all of our long-term friends. And then obviously getting to know Gage kind of got me around King County deal, went and helped Tom at Tongue River and stuff like that while we were in Tech. And after that, I went, so we graduated from Tech, and then Gage and I were like, let's go do the TCU ranch management deal. Might be easier with, 2 people So we went in 15 and lived down in Fort Worth, went through the program. And kind of like a really big mentor of mine was Boyd Rice on the horse training deal. And we got out of TCU, and he's like, hey, you really want to get this horse training deal dialed? Why don't you come help me for a little bit? So I kind of went and helped him for 2 years as soon as I graduated TCU. And I was like, well, I want to go out and ranch a little bit, all those ranches that I saw in those books growing up. Kind of had to end with some of those guys, and so I went to Gage's, stayed with him for a little bit, and then got a call from Stoney, went and helped them at Pitchforks, set of fall works, went and helped True calve some heifers, helped Reggie brand, and then Gage and I got that deal to take those guys up north and brand all those calves when the 6s droughted out. Cotton was in Montana, Bubba in Wyoming, and then Sean was in Wyoming. So we did that for a couple summers, which was fun.
Yeah.
Real fun. Lived in Cotton Elliott's old house right there that's in between, that's Kai's house now.
Yeah.
And so that was like dream come true, 6s was my fence to the east, Pitchforks to the west. Like I was, kind of kick back in the evenings and be like, dang, it's not just in the books anymore. I'm here and met all these guys. And then I went home to just like halter break some colts. We had a big set of colts, and Mom was needing some help getting them halter broken started. So I thought I'd do that. And then just been there 8 years now.
Well, let me back up. I want to break it down a little bit. So you learned how to rope. You learned how to cowboy with Shot. But when you go to Tech, I imagine how impactful was the ranch horse? Because Chris Wilson was the coach, was he not?
So I was 2 years after Chris.
Okay.
Yeah. So Levi.
Oh, that was Zach.
Yeah, Levi
Aaron
Williamson
Jackson.
was our coach, and then Cooper Cogdell.
But that program was pretty impactful on the way you began to understand horsemanship, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I mean, I grew up showing some cutting horses and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So I guess obviously your parents.
So, I mean, I was already pretty familiar with this show deal. And
gotcha.
then, obviously high school rodeoed and team roped and rope calves and did stuff like that. But then the ranch horse team was kind of like just a big group of people that I wanted to kind of associate with. And it put us all in one area. And that kind of that's kind of what got my start to like knowing people like, the really good cowboys that I ended up being able to work around. It was kind of like the first little small step to that. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because it was me and True and Dusty and Jordan and Gage and Blaze. And, I mean, it's like still pretty solid group of guys,
Yeah, you still are able to ranch around those guys quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. That, that's kind of what college rodeo was for me.
Really?
And somebody was asking me the other day that whether or not they should college rodeo, and I was like, absolutely you should, because obviously you're in college and of that age, whether it's 19, 20, 21, and same age as all the other guys college rodeoing,
right?
And some of those guys are going to quit, but a lot of them kept going. And like for instance, I college rodeoed with Jacobs and Sterling, and so we've remained good friends, but they're still rodeoing, and we all rodeoed around each other after college. And and then I was talking to somebody like Levi McCrae was a bull rider from Florida who was in our region, and he is a shoot boss for Stay Smith now, and Trey Benton, and there's all these rodeo guys that I college rodeoed with. Well, they were the same age as me, and so we are doing life together years later. Yeah. And same thing with you guys with that ranch horse team.
That's pretty cool. And it's a real small world too, because like Trey, I've known Trey since I was real young.
Benton? Really?
We rodeoed I obviously wasn't on the other side of the arena, but we were hanging out together. And then like Brew, I can remember going to the high school finals in Farmington and played on the Texas volleyball team, you have that. And it was Sterling and Brew. Yeah. And I just remember kind of bumping into Brew, and then all of a sudden, 6, 7, 8 years later, him and I are living together in the bunkhouse helping True calve heifers. Yeah. So small world for sure.
Yeah, super small world. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brew's still at the Sixes.
Still ranching.
Now at North Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a goober.
Oh, Brew.
So what I'm just curious, each of these phases in your life, are you purposefully using each of these chapters to grow your knowledge as a cowboy?
No doubt. Yeah. I really wanted to, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, but like I really wanted to go work a lot of places and a lot of different places. And I guess like, a product of that was being able to go home with a certain level of not confidence, but like I was sure of how I wanted to run our deal when I got home. You know what I mean? I wasn't kind of like up in the air because I'd never really seen anything or done anything. And looking back on it now, I'm really thankful for being able to go do that, because I could kind of get home and, a bunch of things hit you at one time where it's like, okay, now I'm the one making the decisions, and, there's a little debt involved here and stuff like that. And so I didn't have to worry about how to get the cows gathered or do anything like that. And I could kind of look at the being grown up stuff, and because I'd put the time into going and seeing how those other guys worked, and, really honestly got to work around some of the best cowboys, still the best cowboys. So really thankful for that.
All right. So I imagine you grow up on your ranch and you get to see your parents manage it. You take off, you go to Tech for 4 years, and you hang around some guys. Then you go to TC Ranch Management, and then you spend time at Boyd's, horse training. Then you spend time working on some of these various ranches that you've made friends with. Which one of those different chapters impacted you the most when you got back to the ranch?
I think it'd be hard to say because I still am like lucky enough to be really versatile where, you know, at home I'm going to catch a horse, go ranch a little bit, you know, in the mornings, go feed whatever set I'm taking care of. Then I'm going to ride a horse or two, and then I'm going to be in the office or whatever. So, like, I'm still really using all of that every day. You know, the time spent with Boyd, when I get on those horses, I've got a solid foundation of what I'm looking for every day. And then when, you know, you're going and doing something when you're ranching and you're like, how, you know, do this and that, or how should I do that? And you're like, oh, remember that? I remember so-and-so did that, and it was real helpful. Or you just pick the phone up because you're probably talking to them anyways and be like, hey, what have you been doing for this? Like, oh, this is what we've been doing. Like, oh, perfect. Because, you know, when you're all day working around, you're all still kind of, everybody's making everybody better because you're seeing new things, and then you kind of get home and it's easier to get like a little stagnant in crafting on your trade or whatever. But it seems like the friend group we have, everybody kind of keeps everybody accountable, you know.
So you've been back home for 8 years.
Yep.
Got married. Married up.
Yep.
Had a girl. And I'm sure there's been moments where it's like, man, I kind of want to go back out here or there. I want to go experience this or that. Or are you just completely content right where you're at?
I don't know how it ended up that way, because I can for sure see the wanting to go and do. But for some reason, it worked out where, like, when I got home, I knew that it was time for me to go home and time for me to take over that deal. So I'm super content where I am. And my dad was always real good about, hey, just, I got this, go and do and see and whatever. And he was like, you'll know when it's time to come home. And absentmindedly, when I was down there riding those colts, I was like, it's time, you know.
I remember the switch.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I think my first time to go to the sixes was maybe 2014. Would you have been over there then?
So I met you at Cole's house at Reggie's in 2014.
Yeah.
But then you came and stayed on the wagon with us in 16.
Yeah.
You drove up there. I actually saw the video pop up the other day when we were throwing horseshoes.
Uh-huh.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would have been a couple of years after that. So I saw you around for a few years.
Yep.
And then there was 1 year where you just weren't going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
What, I guess 8 years ago. So
Yep.
What would that be? 2018 coming on, somewhere around
I
then?
think like the summer of 17 is when I went home to halter break those colts.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it gets kind of slow in the summertime. And
right.
I was just kind of looking for something to do. And then went home and did that, and then came up for Roaring Springs because I was rodeoing me and Kai and Buster and stuff like that, and grabbed my stuff from Stoney's house after that rodeo, and that was the last time I lived anywhere but Goliad.
Yeah. I remember that switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we made a video down there.
Yeah, you came down.
Because that one popped up.
For the Goliad Pro Rodeo. Yeah.
Somewhere around then.
Mm-hmm. You actually rode in Goliad.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to Houston.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got on a good horse. Is it Corco that hauls with Stace?
Yeah.
You got on one of his.
I did.
I remember you having to stuff the bun in the crown of your hat.
Yeah. Yeah. What's it called? The only thing more embarrassing than a stampede string is your hat coming off and revealing your man bun. Yeah, same weekend.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. So how has life changed at the ranch since you went back full time?
I think just like anything, kind of the generation that was my dad and my aunt and stuff that were running it before, their or dad, when I got home, he was like, here it is, do a good job or lose it. You know, you got to see and you got to, you know, go to school, so let's see what you got. And then my aunt, who does a really good job managing like more of the office and other leases and stuff, it's just there's more and more like involvement of just doing what they're supposed to do, vetting the next generation. So I'm, you know, doing a lot more I think as I look back year to year, like the first year it was, just get the cows gathered.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, get the cows gathered and don't lose money on
How
them.
do we make money?
Yeah, and then it's get the cows gathered, manage the surface, take care of some guys wanting to come in on a old pipeline, renew the hunting lease. It's just like, you see what I'm like, every year it's just gets a little more in depth. But it's what I'm supposed to be doing. I really do like it. It doesn't bother me.
How has the TCU Ranch Management Program helped you?
I mean, it just gives you, Lanham asked me that yesterday, but it just gives you like an understanding of business. It just teaches you, it's simple math, A plus B equals C, right? But they teach you how to find out what A is and what B is. And then is C profitable or not? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's all basic math. It's not like algebra or anything like that. They just teach you like, what is a cash flow? Mm-hmm. Why is a cash flow important? And just how to kind of be the business model they teach you. Like, you can use it in a t-shirt company, right? Mm-hmm. You got your fixed cost, your variable cost, and what you're going to sell a t-shirt for. And that's what they teach you. So what they taught me there, I use in all business. I don't think there's a business venture that I've sought after that I haven't used the basic knowledge of will it or will it not be profitable that I learned there, And then the Rolodex of context is, it's kind of like a fraternity, I guess, for lack of a better term. But, you just have access to so many people in the industry that are successful.
Did it make you want to turn out sheep or goats?
No, it didn't. It taught me that that's for sure an area you can make some money.
So you began to make fun of those people less?
Less.
But you didn't want to raise them.
I didn't want to raise them.
Yeah. That's what Mark Voss was on. And that's what he was like. Because that's what I'd heard a couple people come through there that, because you have that week where you go down and you see how profitable sheep and goats can potentially be if you manage them correctly or whatever. And I've just heard random people say it made them want to have goats.
Yeah.
And, Mark said he got 100.
Yeah, that's what I was listening to his deal,
Yeah, and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah.
But
Pate, he's still got goats. He's the most successful goat man I know.
Yeah.
And my list is not very long, but he's on the top of it.
I don't see myself. I don't really. I know those field trips you guys go on are impactful, but I don't see myself ever wanting to get a goat.
There's a lot of fencing. Well, first off, they can't get out, right? It takes a solid fence, so I hear. Then they need a dog to make sure that nothing eats them.
And then they die really easy, don't they?
They die really easy.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a lot of coyotes down there. So
right.
And the grass is so tall right now. Luckily, like last spring, I don't know how you ranch around them. Can't see them.
I wonder if they'd be easy to rope from a horse. I know how hard they are from a foot. Like if you're prowling your goats.
Man, all I know is
stick it on one.
That Gunner and Chance Campbell, Gunner Pennington and Chance Campbell, they, Chance's family has some, they have plenty of cattle, but they have some sheep or goats or whatever. And watching those guys rope necks, I think that maybe having to catch a sheep will only improve your neck shot on some bovine, because they've got a pretty sharp neck shot.
Dang, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can rope a goat, you can probably rope a yearling pretty easy.
Yeah. Dodge a
So is True taking care of goats
ball
down there now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to call him after this.
It's like an inherited deal, so we can't you give him like a 50% of a hard time.
Yeah.
Because it was just 50% his decision.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'll give him 100% of a hard time.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So is there anything else that, because it's been 10 years since you've been through the program, so is there anything else that you find yourself using from that program day to day that you're just like, oh man, that came straight from TCU?
I think everything that I do, kind of break it down, like everything I do behind a computer was learned at TCU. everything I do with a set of bridle reins in my hand ranching, I took from time spent, doing that. And then everything I do within the arena fence was
Boyd.
Or at least was the foundation. All those things were the foundation. I've probably put my own spin on it, what works for me. But having a good foundation is nice because, you get out there and what you're doing doesn't work 5 or 6 or 7 times, and you can get to thinking like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but you can always go back to your foundation, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
what's next?
Man, just keep ranching. Keep ranching, keep training a few. Just doing that.
Well, you still go to a lot of horse shows.
I go to one now. Yeah, so I with stuff going.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Yeah, yeah. So what are you supposed to put all your eggs in different baskets, or you can put them all in one and watch them real tight?
Right.
That's what I kind of went with.
Okay.
But no, just everything at home is I've got just a lot more responsibilities. Can't be gone for as many days as I thought I could, and so now what I do is I'll get a set of yearlings and train them as 2-year-olds and then 3-year-olds, and then I'll take them to the futurity in October, and as soon as the futurity's over, sell them all and go back home and start over.
Dang.
That's kind of my deal now.
Yeah.
And it's, I've enjoyed it, because you're gone. I mean, you know how it is. You're gone, you're home, and it's like you never get in a solid routine. And it's going to this year I just went to the snaffle bit futurity and the cutting futurity.
Yeah,
those are the only 2 shows I went to. So kind of just put all my eggs in that basket.
You got on some ranch broncs too, huh?
Yep, mostly I don't ever say that I loved it, but it was what all my buddies were doing, and it made me feel uncomfortable, and I liked that.
Yeah.
And so,
because it is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it's ranch bronc riding.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like first time you went to a jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah.
They ask you, how many days do you go to a gym before you roll? 0. You roll the first day.
Yeah.
And that's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I kind of knew I was going to get, tapped out from it. It's not the same, I don't think.
Uncomfortable level?
Well, because the humans show a lot more grace than bucking horses.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're willing to tap,
yeah.
then even nobody's going to keep going after you tap.
Right.
So I'm okay with tapping.
Yeah.
Very early. If you got me, I'll tap. I don't care if it's your first day and I've been there for 2 years. All right, whatever, you win.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But with ranch bronc riding, I don't know. It just seems, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
As far as the uncomfortable part, that as a saddle bronc rider, I have been asked before. I think you guys sniffed me out to potentially be a ranch bronc rider for you, and I just don't feel confident.
Yeah.
In that. I feel like it's such a street fight, and saddle bronc riding is a boxing match.
Yeah. That makes sense because, I never had a lot of success at it. I would say towards the end, I was doing better than I was when I started, but it was just the only game plan was when they open the chute, just
bear down.
Knife.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's any fundamentals to it? Like a consistent fundamentals?
No, not really. Probably not. No, like I said, it was just if I was trying to just spur as hard as I could up in front of the front cinch, ideally, the better it went.
Which makes sense because those animals traveling forward, if you're spurring in front, that's setting your hips back down.
Yeah.
I just remember you and I having a conversation. You were on a bucking machine and, and we were talking about the fundamentals of saddle bronc riding. And I was like, man, I think this is also the case with ranch bronc. It's just a guess. And I think about that conversation you and I had. We were at North Camp, and I've always wondered because, when a colt in a round pen bucks with a stock saddle, it feels a certain way.
Yeah.
And I know that when you get on a bronc in an arena with an association tree, you know, and you know, a dull bronc saddle with your binds and keeping your knees up against the swells, it feels, and that horse is flanked.
Yeah.
Now it feels different.
Right.
And marrying those two just kind of sends my mind into a whirlwind, which is easy to do. But I don't know that anyhow.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I mean, I had the chance to pick some pretty good. I mean, like Isaac Diaz, you know, he came and helped us on the wagon for a little while. And I was like, hey, I'm like, you know, obviously I want to be good at whatever I'm trying to do. And so I was like, what? And he had a trophy saddle that he'd won at like a team roping with Audi or something. And the swells were just like pointed. And he's like, I think this saddle would be good to ride broncs out of. And I was like, how come? And he's like, because you could get your stirrups really short and get them like wedged up in here, and I think it would work. And I'm like, oh, there really is no.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work. I mean, I don't know. You're the one with the gold buckle, but in the ranch bronc, yeah, it was just.
Yeah.
I always liked the way like Tyler Tell and like Waylon rode.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like they rode with really long stirrups, and like every time they were just trying to pull themselves towards that hole in the gullet. Right. And like just not fighting anything that was happening, but just following the horse as it was happening.
I will say that Waylon does make it look like there is a game plan.
Yeah.
He's consistent enough, and he rides enough that you feel like that he's got some fundamentals to it. Yeah. I hate to give the man too much credit because he ghosted me on coming onto the podcast.
Which phone number did you call?
Yeah, no, I've got the right number. That's the hurtful part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, he makes it look like, and then, golly, what's his name? He came here and got on.
I like the way Colton Mayo rides.
Mayo. Yeah. Colton Mayo. Yeah.
Colton Burnett too.
Yes.
They just rear back and just spur.
Yeah. And I think you got to have an offensive offensive attitude. Very vulgar.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
You have to play offense.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's one thing they do is they're constantly jumping at that bunking horse. You can't grit it. I don't think you can just, like to your point about Isaac's advice on wedging yourself in there. I don't know that you can wedge yourself in there and like strong arm it.
No, yeah.
Maybe some horses.
Yeah, I agree.
But the buckers, you got to go with them and you got to attack them.
Yeah. And it's always like a train wreck because I remember the first year we went to Houston, me and Brady Clark, and it's like 6 of us in a pickup. You had to get on 3. You know, we all held onto the horn. And then, like, all the way home, it was like we had T-Rex arms, you know, from just our arms getting jerked. Like, you know, we're all just driving the truck, like, with our arms right in front of us, you know. Cause,
because you're sore.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about it. Or I guess it is fun when you make a good ride.
When you ride good.
It's like one good ride talks you into getting on 3 to 5 more. And then if something good doesn't happen, then it gets a little downhill after that.
Did it ever feel like the one thing I do feel sorry for guys that ride ranch broncs is it feels like there's less of a long-term payoff. I mean, unless you're riding for a WRCA team, like, why are we really doing this?
Yeah.
Is the only thing that makes me, only because, like, there's not a lot of places for you to take that. If you do hone that skill, where are you going to go with it?
Yeah.
Is what I feel bad for them guys.
Right.
With.
And what I don't really like about it is that you've got 5 to 6 guys on a team, and most all the other events, like Art Reed said, oh, that you missed one. Was that one in your hole? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were all out there together gathering the cows. You know what I mean? But like in all those other events, you're kind of all out there together. And then you ask one guy to go get on the bucking horse and like, hey, we're all going to help each other in this other event, but this one's on you.
Yes.
I'll help you put your car seat in this car that's fixing to get in a wreck, but I'm not going to get in the passenger seat with you.
Yeah, that's a really.
I don't really like that.
It's a lot of pressure on one guy.
Yeah,
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like the extreme team. I think it's what they used to have in Midland in like 2010 or 11. All 3 of them had to get on a bucking horse, and all 3 had to. And so that was kind of like, even playing field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If a guy wants to, it's not that much crazier than someone getting on bulls.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it,
Right.
like, yeah, there happens to be an NFR and a PBR, and so like you could see that maybe that's why that person's doing that. But if you think about it, like which one's more applicable to how it's going to help you in your day-to-day life as a cowboy, it would be ranch bronc riding. If you can get good at that, then you can ride any horse they run under you. Then where bull riding, like when are you going to ever have to, use a bull?
Yeah.
But so anyhow, I don't want to call the guys crazy. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I have sympathy for those who do for that reason. But
I'm glad they do it.
yeah.
So we can go to these rodeos.
And it does give a ranch rodeo a little bit of a twist,
Mm-hmm.
a hint of lime at the end of the chip. Right? That's a good. I mean,
It's a solid one.
If there are regular Tostitos or Tostitos with a hint of lime,
Yeah, it's going to leave you with something.
if you've got two identical ranch rodeos and this one has ranch bronc riding, you're going to go to that one that night to watch. I feel like I'm getting the hint of lime every time.
Yeah. Kind of like milking a cow,
Hey, old son, if you're not feeding every morning with a Can-Am side-by-side, then you ain't no cowboy. I got a Can-Am because I needed a reliable ranch rig that I could use every day because I don't know how to work on stuff like that. So I want something that's not going to break down ever. Get yourself a Can-Am, old son. I hope you're enjoying a ranch fuel as you're listening to this episode of Rodeo Time. Use code DALE on ranchfuel.com for 15% off, old son. Drink up and use code DALE on ranchfuel.com. How much better did your life get after you married Heather?
Oh, yeah, 100% better. Well-fed, clean house. No. Yeah, everything got better. She's solid. She's always more interested in my success than her own. So it's a great quality. Yeah, team player for sure.
Yeah, camping or running a ranch or any of that by yourself just sounds fun for about a week.
Yeah,
and
I don't even think it works really.
Yeah, and then you're like, God, this is pretty lonely.
Exactly.
I need a best friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you tired of people asking you when you're going to have a kid?
No. We're building a house right now. Heather is like 97% sure that our house has black mold in it. So we're
the one you're living in or the one you're building?
One I'm living in.
Okay.
Hopefully not the one I'm building.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna get in the house and see what happens.
Have you been getting sick a lot?
Ish.
You can test for that,
She did. Nothing showed up, but I'm not.
Did you do the at-home test?
Yeah.
Those are bull.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had to use those before for
really?
A house in town.
Well, there you go, Heather.
They always did it show that there was mold?
No. They show there wasn't any.
Most of them show like that there is mold.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, those tests you got to get it professionally done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just went with the new house version of it.
Or just tear it down and build another one. You could do that.
Oh, no, I'm going to leave it up in case you need a place to stay.
Okay, yeah, I'll stay in your moldy house.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so you're going to check that box and then make sure that you live in a non-moldy house before you bring in an infant.
Yeah. So it's kind of
not a bad game plan.
No, it's not terrible. I think if it happens before it, no trouble.
Right.
No, I don't get tired of people asking.
Yeah.
People ask weird stuff. You know what I mean? Just whatever comes on their top of their mind.
Well, it's usually just the next thing someone asks. Like when you get a girlfriend, when are you going to get engaged? When you get engaged, when are y'all going to get married?
Yeah.
And then as soon as you get married, when are you going to have kids?
Yeah.
When are you going to have the second? It's just, it's what comes up. I don't think people really 90% of the time don't feel like purposely trying to pressure a young couple, but.
Who does your taxes?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
How much did you make last year?
Yeah. Oh, you're looking heavier than you used to. How's your health?
How many cows do you have?
Yeah, there you go.
We gotta. So that's something I've. This series I'm doing, the Texas Cow Puncher. I think you're maybe number 8.
There you go.
But I haven't addressed that. It's crazy how many people out there still think or don't believe me when I say that it's rude to ask how many cows you have or how many acres you own.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, that was just one of those deals like growing up. It's just, that was just like a household rule. You don't ask how many cows they have or how much money they have in the bank. Or I think after like going through the business side of TCU that we get interns in every summer. And that's not something I'm withholding from them by no means, because I want to show them like total acres, total cows, total revenue. Here's a real clear picture of what you could possibly be doing in the future. But I think like run into somebody at the Fort Worth Rodeo. Oh yeah, how many acres is that? Big enough to get lost on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which could be 20 acres for some people or
right.
20,000. But yeah, it's just like just kind of I don't know why you don't ask that.
My dad went through the program.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that.
He said he told me you're allowed to ask what someone's stocking rate is.
There you go.
There you go. If you want to do a little bit of research on their property, you can ask that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, so yeah, that was like my one insider TCU hack that I was allowed to ask somebody.
Yeah. I don't
know
why
acres per animal unit you got.
But I mean, I guess you don't go around asking people how much money they have in the bank.
How much their wife weighs.
There you go. That would be a icebreaker for sure. Which one's your wife?
What's she up to now? $180?
Uh-huh. Like see her step across the scales. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that who should I have on next?
Texas cowpunchers. It's a long list. You did Mark.
Bones,
which him and I are related. Do you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. He said he was from Port Lavaca,
Mm-hmm.
His grandmother's name's Vita Voss. And Vita and my grandfather, Bully Greeson, are brother and sister.
Oh, dang. You been knowing that?
I didn't know that until I got out here and met him, and he had kind of mentioned that, and then I called my dad, and I was like, I just met a guy named Mark Voss, and he was like, oh, yeah, y'all are kinfolk.
Yeah. Bones has no-showed me.
Bones, Cowboy.
Kelby no-showed me. Now, they both agreed to come on, and both of them had horse problems come up. Bones had to take one to La Mesa. Kelby had a horse die the night before. Do you know Clint Hale? Originally from down in your part of the world, Sonora. I guess that's a little more west.
Yeah, a little west. 3 hours.
But he would be a West Texas cowboy, but then he lives in Athens now and picks up for Stace Smith.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I know him.
I guess he would have probably picked up at the Ranch Rodeo if they used the same, because he picks up in Fort Worth.
Was that the bearded guy or the non-bearded guy?
Non-bearded guy.
Yeah, I do know him. Yeah, he seemed really nice. Because he was telling Jason Murray, that's who had the horses, right? J&J?
Yep.
To tell his pickup man at home to slow these horses down. And I was like, so I found him afterwards. I was like, so just out of curiosity, how do you slow a bucking horse down? He was telling me, like, get a hold of him faster, set him in the ground, kind of like you would slow anything down,
Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed like a solid dude.
He's, he...
What about Tate Irons? He's a cowboy.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Bones, he's always enjoyed ranching around Bones. Jeff Flowers, Cauliflowers.
Yeah, I thought somebody said Jeff.
Yeah.
And I happen to live in Texas, but at some point we've got to branch out, do a New Mexico cowpuncher series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do they always tell Ryan? Must be a bunch of good cowboys in New Mexico. She's never seen one come out of there. You may have to travel to New Mexico. I've just heard people give him a hard time for that because I guess his time with the bell I mean, people give him a hard time for a lot of things.
Yeah. No, but Taos Muncie would be a good one.
Taos?
That'd be yeah. He's a New Mexico cowpuncher.
Brad Shadle? That'd be a really good listen.
Oh, man, yeah, he knew my dad.
Yeah. That guy's wild. I remember being at you know how like a ranch rodeo, it's like you have like 6 or 7 guys helping you saddle your horse, and everybody's like trying to like ease around him.
I normally don't have 67 guys.
So 6 or 7, excuse me. But gotcha. I remember being at the Kerrs and
still a lot.
They're doing the national anthem, and I look over and Brad has his hat off and he's on his horse, which is just not something you see at a ranch rodeo. You know, typically it's like jump on and go, and he's on his horse, remeasuring his stirrups and like getting a feel for his saddle and stuff, like you would see at a pro rodeo. And I was like, this guy's wild.
Yeah,
he's a cool dude.
Yeah, it seems it.
He told, he rode bulls a lot. Brad did. And Wesley Gudgel, this is all a story. I wasn't there, but I've heard it from more than one person. He was kind of like the next up-and-coming guy going to ride for singletons. So they're out in like Kim, Colorado or somewhere, and they're saddling. Brad's helping Wesley saddle his horse. Horse lays down. And he's like, Wesley, just get on him and call for him. I've done it 1,000,000 times. So Wesley gets on him. They open the gate. Horse stands up and leaves. And Brad's like, dude, I can't believe you did that. He's like, what do you mean? You said you did 1,000,000 times. He's like, on bulls, I've never called for a bucking horse laying down. Don't know if that's a true story or not, but I like it. It's a great story.
Yeah. No, there's been, you don't take too many horses. It just depends on how they're laying, where they're leaning, I would think. But bulls all the time for sure.
Yeah.
Same thing. Just so long as they're not looking. So long as they are looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't it be a horse's tendency to like stand up and then maybe like post you on the way out, or were they always going to stand up and leave? Like a bull, I could see just leaving, but a horse, no telling, huh?
Yeah, I think it's just the way they're laid down.
Yeah.
You know, like if they're, like squatting just on the front and their back is up, that would make me nervous. But if they were like down in the back and their front's already up, I feel like I'd be less nervous then because, how hard are they going to frap you? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
you ever called for one laying down?
Yeah.
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 What happened? Did he stand up and leave?
Yeah. I can remember one time in the practice pen a long time ago, he's just laying flat on his belly, stand up and leave. I want to say Cody D called for one laying down like at the NFR maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was big about being a horseman, but also he was not, go with the flow. He wasn't scared to be different when it came to rules like that.
Yeah.
But you remember what's your biggest wreck you've been in cowboying?
Well, I cut these fingers off one time with Kai.
That'd be a pretty big one.
Yeah, it was post ranching. We had some bulls we were picking up. It was the middle of summer, and had an intern with me. This is why I never have a 14-foot trailer. But I caught this bull, and I led it up to the trailer like everything was perfect. But that trailer, because of the way they lay a 14-foot out, he still had his back feet on the ground, but I had him like sucked all the way up. And the intern I had she was shy. She was a girl. And I was like, hey, grab that hot shot. Get him one time. She was super scared, and I was like, no big deal. I'll just let him back out. I'll just cold trail him to a set of pins. Well, there's a draw on the way over there, and sure enough, like he went in there and brushed up. So I just tied him down, hobbled his front feet, and then yoked him to a tree. And it was July and like full on hot. And so Kai just got done feeding a set, and he was at headquarters. And I was like, hey, let's because we have another friend of ours down there I'll tell you a story about him later, but like when stuff brushes up on him, Can-Am.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no sense in wearing saddle trees or horses out. Let's get a Can-Am.
Okay.
And so I was like, Kai, let's try this Can-Am deal. Both of our horses are tired. I'm tired. We're hot. It's almost noon. He's already tied to a tree. And so we went down there and still tied to the tree. And we got a chain and put it around his neck, like, loose enough where it wasn't choking him, but it wasn't going to come off his head. And then tied it to the back of the Can-Am. Well, what I didn't realize is that, because I'd hobbled him so he could get up and not be too hot. And he had just spun on the end of that rope. And, like that, and when you spin on those ropes will spin up. But when I got there, he was on the end of it, so I couldn't tell that it had like all this retention in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we put the chain around his neck. Kai gets in the Can-Am. I'm like, pull him, get tied on the chain, and I'll untie the rope. Well, when he gets tied on the chain, that rope just like spins together and it wrapped around.
Ooh.
And then he felt slack, so he went to the end of it, and I could just feel it like that. I didn't even look. I just grabbed my wrist. For some reason, that was my natural reaction. Kind of shut the blood flow off. I came walking out of the brush, and I was like, Kai, I just cut my finger off. Take me to the front gate. Call the ambulance. I was like, it feels like they're gone. I'm not gonna.
You had gloves on?
No. I just wasn't going to look. I don't mind blood at all. My blood, I mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So he threw the chain off the back, and here we went. And so we were driving in the wind, and I just had my wrist clamped and had my hand out of the Can-Am. And in the wind, I was doing fine. And called the ambulance, get him to come to the front gate. We got to the front gate, and he stopped. And it was just like the last 15 minutes of your 180-degree sauna session. You know that sweat that comes out of you that's like a little black? And
I usually go 200 degrees, but whatever. Anyway.
In 20 minutes, but yeah. And it stinked. And like I can just remember stopping, and the sweat was just like, it smelled like it was distilled. And I was like, Kai, we got to keep moving. But we couldn't go anywhere because we were waiting on the ambulance. So like he was just circles at the front gate. And he had called Heather and told her like, hey, Parke cut his fingers off. You probably need to come up here. And she's like driving down the main road, and it's pretty straight, and you can see for a while. And she like sees us at the front gate, just like, and this Can-Am, and I'm like holding my, you know how Kai is. He's like one of the loving guy, and like he's got me in an embrace. Yeah. And I've got my hand, and we're just driving circles waiting on the ambulance.
Golly.
But no, I hadn't been in too many wrecks. You know, horses fall down and stuff like that. I watched Brew get in a solid wreck one day. But I feel like Brew's been in so many wrecks, it's like...
What happened there?
Another day, you know what I mean?
When he got down in the creek?
No. That sounded like a really good start to a joke. Down in the creek?
Down in the creek?
No, we were prowling heifers, and he was on the inside, and True was in... I was on the outside, and True was in between us, and I just look, and you know that Gumpy, that like soft green toy that kids played with when we were young?
No.
It was like really stretchy, and its arms were like...
I don't play with toys.
Okay, whatever. So I look, and Brewster looks like Gumpy tied to his horse by just one stirrup. Gumby, sorry. So
yes, I played with Gumby.
Toys. Yes. You did play with toys. Okay. We're fleshing some stuff out here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Brew looks like. I don't know what happened. Like, horse stumbled, kind of bowed him out, and then it scared the horse, and the horse took off, and Brewster is just dragging by one stirrup, and then all of a sudden the horse kicks him, and then down goes Frazier. But the most interesting thing to me is when we got to him, he's one of the most flexible people I've ever seen, because if you notice when he like tightens his spur straps or something, he doesn't bend his knees. Like, he can touch his toes. I don't know why I've noticed that about him, but he's sitting.
You know, I haven't noticed that about him. Yeah. That's not something I picked up on.
Well, I'm not very flexible, so I'm just kind of always read the room.
Look at that. Brew is not bending his knees.
Brew can touch his toes. No, so he's sitting straight-legged on the road. His hat's on or severely messed up, and his shirt is, and maybe his pants are ripped, and he has one boot on, and the other one is like this. So naturally I'm thinking broken leg, but I didn't know the horse had pulled the boot off a little bit. And he's making no sounds. He's alive. He's sitting there. But it's like, I felt like he'd been in so many wrecks that it was just like another day in the office, and he knew to like remain calm and everything was going to be okay. Where like me, I try to run away from pain. You know, like when you get pain, you like running from where the pain happened seems to help for some reason, or like moving or whatever. And Brew was just completely calm, letting the storm roll over till we caught his horse and brought it back to him.
Dang.
Yeah.
Rock and roll denim is what Dale Brisby uses to spur his bucking bulls. I get the Reflex. Gives me the mobility I need to be the cowboy I am. So go to rockandrolldenim.com, old son. Total Feeds is what keeps the herd powered here at Radiator Ranch. And Total Equine is what I've been giving Boone for 10 years. He's 24 years old and still going strong. You can get it on Chewy.com or a dealer near you. What about the other guy you said you were going to tell a story about?
Chance?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what everybody talks about, like, you know, maybe the only way to ranch is how, dragging calves and stuff like that, which that's the only way I like to ranch because that's how I learned to, and that's the fastest way for us. But I will disagree that there are other ways to get the cows in the pens. And we go down there, get home, and I'm, everything, catch 'em, cowboy like I've learned and wanted to be. And he's like, hey, it's pretty brushy down here. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't matter. We got him. And he had cur dogs. I didn't want to listen to cur dogs bark. So I was like, nah, we'll just come help me. And so he helps me there for about a year. And he's like, hey, let me bring my dogs over here sometime. Hey, instead of catching that bull and fighting him for 2 hours, let me dart him. I'm like, nah, Cowboys,
Yeah.
And finally, Thanksgiving Day, I roll up there, and there's 3 Maverick bulls in with my cows. And we're fall calvers, so like this is about the time we're breeding, and I don't really necessarily need these Maverick bulls. So I call him. I'm like, okay, Chance, day before Thanksgiving, fixing to have to get ready for the family to come in. Show me this darting deal. He's like, no problem, be there in 15 minutes. But he lives an hour away. I don't know. But no, he got there pretty fast. And he unloads this. All he has is a 24-foot trailer with a Can-Am in the back of it and a dart gun. I'm like, okay. And he doesn't ask me any questions, like which ones are mine, which ones are not mine. Pretty obvious the Longhorn ones with no ear tags or brands are not mine. He just steps out and just starts filling them full of darts and medicine. I'm like, okay, cool. I said, what do we do now? He said, we wait. He said, you can't get ahead of this deal. Got to wait. Okay. How long do we wait? Well, he smoked cigarettes back then, and he smoked Marlboro 100s like a grandma. And so he said, when this cigarette's done, we'll go. So we sat on the brush fender while he smoked a cigarette, look over there, and all of them are laying down. So then he gets in this Can-Am and mounts it on top of these bulls so that they don't run away, because the adrenaline gets up a little bit when you get to them, ties them all down, and then ties them to the Can-Am and loads them in this trailer. And I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nobody's worn out. The brush, you couldn't even walk through it. It was so thick.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how else we would have gotten that done.
Right.
So then a couple weeks after that, I was like, Kai, we got to try this Can-Am deal.
That's when you cut
and
your
then I
fingers
lost
off.
my fingers, yeah.
You just forgot the dart part.
Yeah, no doubt.
You didn't give it enough time to get the dart.
And I didn't smoke, so how was I supposed to gauge it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What if you could go back to a crew, which one? If you could go back to a works.
I think
second to the one I was on.
Yeah.
That one's probably first.
So I got 2 answers to that. Full-time crew, you know how it always kind of like moves around, like you can see it every couple of years. Like right now, I think Dusty's got the best crew going. But when I went to Pitchforks that fall, Stoney, Wagon Boss, Clint, Clay, Patrick, Gringo. Those were the full-time guys, Cowboys.
Yeah.
That was a crew. I'm really glad I got to go do that. Best crew of non-full-timers, I had 2 of them. We went and gathered QBs.
Yeah.
And it was Jodine, Ryan, T-Dub, Brew, Bailey, Jeff, Coley. Did I say Jodine already? Mm-hmm. Well, Jodine twice because he's a real good cowboy. Was solid. And then that group we took up north, Burns, Brady, Art, me, Gage, Trace, Robert Forrest went with us one year. That was a fun crew. Real fun crew.
Yeah.
So I hope you're good with 4 answers to that one question.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, those are the best crews I've ever worked on.
Right.
And then, I'm biased now, but we just got done branding. Everybody that came down there and helped me, I think, pretty much hung the moon. They're all solid dudes, too.
Yeah, I was busy that day that you didn't call me.
I'm trying to remember what phone number I used. Was it the one on the door I set by for 20 minutes this morning?
Yeah, it must have been.
Whose phone number is that?
That's mine. It's my other one.
You got 2 phones?
I got
You
2
like that song?
phones.
Yeah.
One for my family and friends, the other one for day working.
I called the family and friends line. No wonder I didn't get an answer.
Yeah, maybe that's why
Yeah.
I didn't answer.
Yeah, that's a fair trade, huh?
Do you have an everyday carry?
I do. I don't carry on me every day, but I went. Bless you.
Thank you.
Will that be on?
Received.
Will that be on?
My sneeze?
Yeah.
No, because you said bless you, and I want people to think you're an a-hole after you didn't call me for your.
I didn't know maybe we could slow mo that. Yeah, it really had something come out of there. No, I went to one of Tim's sheepdog response deals, and I carried a Sig P 365. Really like that one.
I've thought about getting one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got the red dot, or not red dot, but the reticle with I guess it is a red dot inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that gun.
Yeah,
it's the right size. I carry it like in my when I'm bow hunting, because nothing ever dies immediately when you shoot it with a bow. So yeah, right. Check tape. Don't you? Did you ever fully broadcast your bow kill when they're?
Yeah. So they both died.
Eventually,
they did. They died right away. The thing that was so crazy about my first one, he died, and that was a good shot. And then I shot him a second time. He went like 50 yards. The second one, he went a little further than that because he was running downhill. But what was ridiculous about it was he was looking the other way, and I was trying to let down my arrow because he went behind a tree, and I had been drawn for a while.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, I better let this down. Well, that's like the one thing that I practiced the least.
Yeah, right.
Because you don't want to because it's kind of dangerous, you know? Well, I should have practiced it a little because as I let this arrow down, I accidentally sent it, and it was like 8 feet over the top of his back, like up into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so that was the stupid part of my bow hunt.
Okay.
But then the second arrow did hit him. And then I sent a third one maybe while he was running, which wasn't even close. And then where I thought he landed behind a bush, I sent a fourth one, and it hit a tree. So, yeah, Donnie and Dusty got to me, and my quiver was like empty.
That's impressive. Like you were just...
But it was like the second of 4 arrows that got him.
Yeah. That's always a telltale sign. I had a guy bow hunting with me the other day, and he came back. We met at headquarters, and he's like, hey, so I wasn't going to tell you this, but like, you can't not see that I only have 3 arrows in my quiver, and I left with 4. But he's like, got in the ground blind, and he's like, it seemed a little tight in there. So I thought I'd just draw, and just kind of get the feel for what was going to go down when that deer came in. And he's like, I get half draw, my arrow's pointed up, and he shoots it through the ground blind into the trees. And it had a illuminating knock on it. And so he said the whole time that he was hunting, it was like a disco, and especially as it got dark, because that knock was like just flashing up in the trees hilarious. Right above him.
Yeah. That. I mean, it's something that. See, that was like an abnormal thing he did on his hunt that he wasn't practicing for. Same thing with me. Like how many times? I don't know. I guess I need to practice letting one down because, he went behind this tree and stopped. And I knew he was going to come out, and I just wanted to be... Anyway, it was ridiculous. We put it in the video, though.
You did?
Yeah, I didn't like...
That's good. No hiding.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to hide it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's me, Dale Brisby, all in the open. Yeah, I'm an open book, people. Yeah. No mysteries here.
No secrets.
Yeah, cool. Well...
But yeah, back to your question, that's what I like to carry on me. It's kind of the right size.
Yep.
Had a Glock sub compact. That's still a bigger gun for everyday carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. You?
Hellcat, Springfield. Yeah. It's got a red dot on it that I really just used for racking them in and out because the battery's always dead. So I just use the iron sights. But it's, it does look cool that way though. But I'm thinking about getting something a little bigger just because my hand is so big. And
right.
The only time I've ever used it was like I'll go on a jog and there'll be pigs show up. I take it with me on the jog because I've also used it on pit bulls in this little bull town I live in. There's not really a city ordinance against pit bulls. I have been chased a few times.
Really?
And shot at some.
Would you full metal jacket on these pit bull attempt kills, or are you like loading some of those little 9 rat shots in there?
No, they're hollow points.
I see.
Yeah.
That makes it better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
There's no animal I despise more than a pit bull.
What is your carry like when you're running? I mean, you got like something.
I got to wear 2 pairs of tights.
Oh, okay.
So I do that. I wear. How do I haven't ran in a while. My hips started to really grind. It's like I got rocks in my hips.
You got to have hip replacement surgery?
The doctor said that I will definitely have to have it earlier than people normally do.
Yeah.
But he just said I had early onset arthritis, which isn't that big a deal. Whatever. I just don't run as much.
Yeah. Do you twist your hips a lot when you run? Is that what started this?
He said it was from my lifestyle. Yeah. It wasn't from running. Running just is where it showed up.
Yeah.
But I wear 2 pairs of tights to hold it because that's a lot of bouncing around.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. But the tights help.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a must, man. Dude, I had 2 pit bulls like circling me and I did not have a gun on me.
Really?
That's the last time that'll happen.
What was the call there? Was there a tree nearby or what was going through your mind?
Man, I was just kind of like, I was kind of just slowly walking. I just kind of kept moving. And because then when you run, which I've done that too, they just chase you.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate a pit bull.
Yeah.
And then I've got a friend that, beautiful girl. She used to work here, and Blythe, and she's now got this big scar. That's how come she got that scar. Got that little scar. Just petting one of her friend's dogs. Ripped her face in half. You hear about kids and all that.
Yeah. Dude,
I'll shoot a pit bull.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Y'all can cancel me. I don't care. Because, like, they'll kill a kid. There's stories of them that just kill a kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on that tangent. We're talking about everyday carries. That's the only time I've ever used one.
Well, that's for a practical everyday carry use.
But also pigs. Like, I'll shoot at some pigs.
Yeah.
I have been chased by one of those too. And it is hard to shoot with my little Hellcat. The 365 of the SIG is a little bigger, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah. I think so. I think it's in between like the Hellcat and the subcompact Glock or micro, whatever they call it. Maybe it's a micro.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I need to look into it.
What do Dusty and them have? I really like those. The Kimbers.
Kimber.
Yeah.
He's a Kimber man.
Yeah, Kimber.
Yeah. What's next for Sarco Ranch?
Man, just keep doing what we're doing. We got them all branded, so go through and wean the heifer calves April-ish, depending on the rain. Go wean the calves in June, probably.
Yeah.
August feeder board looks good, so wean June calf is probably a August feeder. So maybe try to hit that market and do it all over.
Where can we get your horses?
At the they're all online. There'll be one at R.A. Brown Ranch Sale, March. Kelly's gonna be really disappointed in me here. It's either March 11th or 12th.
Gotcha.
One of those days.
Right.
If you're there on the 11th, buy a horse. If you're there on the 12th, buy a bull.
Yeah.
But I got a gelding going in that. And then, just after the snaffle bid futurity's over, they're for sale but not on sale, hopefully.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
Look at Sarco Ranch Instagram.
Ranch, Instagram, and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Check us out.
Cool.
Hunting, fishing, ranching, riding.
All the things.
Gulf Coast, Texas.
Dale, yeah. Well, thank you, Parke Greeson. Maybe you'll get to sell a horse off of this, and I'll get invited one day.
2% commission, is that standard?
4/5. 4/5 commish.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. On to the next one. Everybody check out rodeotime.com. Otherwise, you ain't no cowboy, old son. Pow, pow.